Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond AI, a podcast where we explore how artificial intelligence and human intelligence work together to shape the future. How artificial intelligence. I'm Eben, the founder of Outperforms, and today we are here again to discuss this big question: AI versus human intelligence. AI versus human intelligence. Why average is no longer enough in the AI era. So it's very important. I want you to fasten your seatbelt and you will really love this topic. AI versus human intelligence. Why average is no longer enough. Before we go right into our podcast today, you understand that in the world of AI, everyone we hear a lot of things about AI every day. AI this, AI that, AI in health, AI in education, AI in agriculture, AI in everything. So the buzz about AI is because it's so great that everyone hears AI, 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 and everyone feels that AI is going to take their job. Today I have a wonderful person here with me to discuss this great topic about why being average is no longer enough in the AI era. Being average is no longer enough in the AI era. He's a professional. He has been in the AI field a long while enough to speak to us about being average is no longer enough in the AI era. Before we go into our podcast today, let me hear your perspective on this. Will AI take humans' jobs or not? And kindly introduce yourself.
Yeah. So thank you for having me, Eben. I really appreciate being on this
Yeah.
this cast. Just to jump right into it, my name is Jacob Pierce. I do a little bit of software here, a little software there. I run a custom software company here in Melbourne, Florida, on the Florida Teslas, the auto taxis. But when we think about AI and being average, the real question is, can you successfully integrate AI, or really can you excel? And if you can excel,
We've been hearing it has exposed us to knowledge in a way that we have the knowledge we don't have before. The knowledge we don't have before, we don't have access to. We have more access to those knowledge. Those days when we do our searches on Google, we just Google search and all those things. It might be very difficult for you to get even those things. And with AI now AI searches the internet for you, get the best result of whatever you want to do. And that's why being average is no longer enough in this AI era. It is not enough. You must use AI to go beyond average. You must use those tools to go beyond average. In
I
your
couldn't agree
view,
more.
yeah. So, in your view, how has AI changed the expectation of the performance in the workspace?
So AI is not really changing our performance in a binary way that you might imagine, or a linear way where it's like, hey, you know what, you were competing, you're competing with other people for this job. Now you've got this job and you're expected to output 100%. And now AI says, you maybe implement one AI tool. Okay, you're going to be at 110. Implement two AI tools. Maybe you're at 120. Like it's not how we're expected to linearly adapt. We're expected to grow with the capacity of the AI, and that's what really makes this both a blessing and a curse. It's a dangerous thing to be requested of consistently and constantly, really. That the next step requires you to learn again. And we work in our jobs and we become experts in our field, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But if we have this production requirement, we are now essentially having to scale our knowledge base immediately with the knowledge base of the AI. And so we're actually accelerating at this efficiency exponentiality. And that's the big question, is how far can we go in corporate life?
Wow, that's good. That's very good. And also, do you think AI is raising the bar for every industry or only for a certain profession?
Um, I would think to a degree most industries. I thought to myself, the Jetsons had that Roomba. They had the wonderful made robot, and we have our modern day Roombas. And if you own a Roomba, if you own anything like a Roomba, it's only okay. It's not going to clean up everything. And even if you put the smartest AI or 5090 NVIDIA graphics card in that Roomba, it's not going to do a better job.
Yeah.
AI is not going to enhance that device at all. Past its like machine learning, which is just algorithms. The AI is at least a more creative entity. But yeah, I mean, we are really noticing that if you are working in sales, the service industry, which utilize technology, you will be needing to upgrade your technology. You will be needing to upgrade your AI to compete with your competitors who are finding ways to do that. But people, I mean, it's very hard for me to say, there's going to be a janitor that's going to be removed from their position because of AI. There's always going to be somebody who needs to serve you food or clean floors or whatever. Like, we will build robots to do better jobs, maybe in more efficient time, but the cost of that is ridiculous. And giving that an AI is usually a very niche reality. I mean, these massive LLMs, these large language models of Grok, of Gemini, and Claude, they're all very utilitarian. They're very useful. They're broad spectrum. That's why we use them. But some industries, I think, and maybe you have some ideas on this. Some industries, I think, will just totally be bypassed by AI. They'll just kind of keep going as if it never even happened.
Yes. Very, very important to understand that, to know that AI is not for just certain industries. It's for every industry. Even in the construction, there are robots that can do some of those things they do in the construction industry. Because most people say it's construction industry is the only industry that AI is not going to get into. There are robots we can build, automations that we can build robots with great automation precision, with great precisions that will do whatever you do within the construction industry. So it's very important that AI is in every industry. There's artificial intelligence in every industry, and we must know that there are risks within this environment, within this AI environment. So what risks do professionals face if they choose to remain average in this AI era?
Well, you and I have talked a little bit about this previously, and it's dangerous. It really is dangerous. If you are in an industry that requires you to grow with AI and you refuse to, you remain average. Eventually, unfortunately, your work contribution capabilities, they may become obsolete, and I'm sorry to tell you this. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but you and I we understand this. That's why we're here today. For everybody who says, I can't learn AI, I can't learn how to program. I'm not asking you to program. I'm not asking you to learn how to give the best prompts in the world. That's not what your employer is asking for either. They're asking for you to find ways to integrate 10% of a language model into your system, using the Grammarly AI to spell check for a better report, using Microsoft 365 stuff to better synthesize your data. Like, these are all small little tweaks that improve your efficiency. And if you can't do that, the big companies are going to start to notice, and they're going to start cutting people. We've actually already seen that, and it's tragic. And the way to survive that is to avoid being average.
Even right now, Google is imposing the use of AI within their team. Google is imposing the use of Gemini in their team in a way that every developers can also use Gemini within their team. So it's very important for us not to be average. You must use AI for you not to be average, because there are a lot of knowledge in AI. The knowledge base AI has is more than what you have yourself.
Mhm.
Is more than what you have, more than what humans have, because it's combination of different knowledge, it's combination of different expertise, the combination of different stuff from different people. So that's where AI is coming in to help us not to remain average. So when you use the AI, you won't become obsolete. So when you use AI, you won't become obsolete. So when we should also look at the opportunities and growth. So when we look at the opportunities we can get when using AI, when people understand the opportunities within the AI, using AI, so they would also love to use AI. So we should not just tell them about okay, AI is going to take your jobs, but we have to also tell them the opportunities they get.
Of course, yeah.
So
There are brighter days ahead. AI is a helpmate, not the devil.
yeah, yeah, not the
Yeah,
devil, not the devil. How can an individual use AI to move from average to exceptional, to
yeah. So
be exceptional in their field of work?
we're seeing pieces of everyday life become more and more efficient with AI. And the simplest answer, to ask you a single question, if you're listening to this podcast, watching the podcast, you think to yourself, what is it that I could do? What's step one? Step one is, what in your day could be automated? What could be a automated system? Whether that's your lights turn on for you when you walk in. I mean, that's a very simple automation, but that, or your computer would automatically ping you with these notifications for tasks that are overdue. These things that are automated are very, very simplistic things that we have with machine learning. And taking AI and actually giving it just a little bit of a brain, so that if you've reached out to this person yesterday for XYZ thing and they didn't have it for you, and they told you, I'll have it for you 3 days from now, you don't send them another request. They told you. There's no reason to bug them again. And AI, using AI for little tasks like that will help. The smaller the task, the more AI can handle it. These large language models are very good at it. There's multiple types of AI out there, and I won't get into all of it right now because we don't have time.
Yeah.
But the real question is, if you can go from having to type out, "Hey team, what are you working on this morning?" messages every single day, to go into Grok and having it sort through the transcript of every time you produce something in the past, log it in an Excel sheet. Oh my gosh, like, you have created a linear proof of your utility of AI. It's just automate the little things, cut down on the task time. That alone will help move you into the highest percentage of efficient workers. Because we just discussed this. Some people are going to refuse to incorporate it. They're going to refuse to grow, and they'll be average, and that average will fall.
Wow. That's very impressive. That's very, very good. So can you share example of industries where AI has transformed the ordinary roles into more specialized, higher value
Yeah.
position?
So I'm going to go ahead and jump on myself here. So I am a software programmer, designer, developer. I've got a background in electrical engineering and systems engineering as well. I've been around the block. AI has transformed my position from running my company to actually doing the work. We have come from we've come to custom software solutions, and understanding that using the AI for pieces of the code, you don't ask the AI to do all the code. That's a disaster. Use it for pieces. And then you got to go double check it, and you got to make sure this is right and that's right, and that use the right pieces and have the right source code. It's this small little utility here and there, but like, if you can use this, you can incorporate this in industry. It's ordinary roles of programmer in this case have been converted into prompt engineer. If you are an accountant, you're now an AI organizing developer. All of these different things are, I tweak the AI here, I give it these prompts, I learn how to build a prompt for it. it just takes my 3 years of experience in programming into 10 years of experience programming. It just
No.
expands your horizons.
Yeah.
But here's the real thing that I think every industry professional should think about how it could be integrated into their ordinary role. You should 100% think to yourself, do I have the initial knowledge base? Because we don't, driving a Tesla is great or whatever if it drives for you, but you still have to get on the road. It won't drive for you 24/7. You have to have that base knowledge of how to get in a car, start the car, drive the car out of the driveway. It may park for you, but it can't park for you on the side of a highway. These are all really important core tasks that you must learn first before you can really run with AI. What do you think?
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. Yeah, this is very, very true because I've always been saying this to people, majorly in software development world, and most people just jump on AI app builders. We have different AI app builders. They jump on those AI app builders, but most times they find themselves in a mess after building the solution with AI app builder, but they have one bug or the other to fix. It's very difficult for them to fix those bugs. So I've always been saying to people that it's very important to understand the basics of programming. Now, understand the basics of programming. You understand your JavaScript, understand your front-end development, your CSS, HTML, know your basic programming language, to understand your basics programming. So if you understand the basic JavaScript, understand TypeScript, just understand the basics of all these things, it will be easier for you when you see a bug, you will be able to fix it. It's very important for us to also understand, or if you want to be a developer, if you want to also use AI within the tech space to build, you must also understand the basics. Understanding the basics is very important. In this AI era, you have to understand the basics because AI will not take you from zero to hero. It won't take you from zero to hero. It will take you from where you are to where you want to be. So another question I would ask you today is, what skills are now considered essential for professionals who want to stay ahead? What are the skills? What are the skills you need to stay ahead?
Yeah. So in one phrase, prompt engineering. That's a very fancy way of saying I understand how to make the AI give me what I'm asking.
Wow.
In simple terms, if you ask the AI question, how can you phrase it to make sure that you get the desired result from the AI? There's a million tricks and tips out there, whether you put the question at the beginning or put the question at the end. Maybe you're phrasing it with this inclination. Maybe you say should instead of could. All kinds of different ways to phrase your prompt. But the real question is, maybe you just experiment and learn how to just give it a little bit more data here, a little bit more data there to get the desired response. I personally find that when I am talking with an AI, it helps, and there are some studies on this actually. It helps to be nice to the AI, except for Gemini. Gemini, you should be mean to. Seriously, you should be mean to Gemini. Gemini doesn't understand nice. It's actually the only AI that does that. It's also, you should be kind just in case it takes over the world. But like realistically here, when you phrase your question to the AI, you should 100% think about, if you were to explain this to someone who you just met down the road, what is all of the additional content that that they don't? If you work at your job, maybe your manager has this XYZ project in their head, and you've been working towards that. What is all of that information about? What kind of company do you work at? Do you work at a software company? Do you work for a janitorial company? These are important pieces of information for the AI. And providing just that little bit of background knowledge about, a sales call or something if you're selling cars, that sales call is going to look very different than if you're selling a service.
Yeah.
It's just totally different, and you got to give the AI the background.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So it's also very important that we know that anything you put into AI is what you get. It's called garbage in and garbage out. Garbage in, you get the result of whatever you put in. So
Precisely.
prompt engineering is very important. So you need to learn how you phrase your questions so that you can get the best result. And doing that prompt engineering is very important to learn. So when you look at human versus AI strength, the strength of human and AI, where does human intelligence still clearly outperform AI?
Well, so we are striving towards AGI. And for anyone who doesn't know, AGI is artificial general intelligence. That would be considered a creative AI. There are some samples that have been released that dictate that we do have some AGI models that are a proof of concept. They don't really work yet. A lot like quantum mechanics. Like, we can make it work, but are you getting the right answer all the time? No. And in that capacity, it's creativity. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank has talked about this at length. The Gary V, I don't know, he does a lot actually. He's on social media. He talks about this at length. Creativity is the most important capacity we currently have. AI is a data aggregator, and if the data has never been created, it really can't aggregate it. That's the real question there is, can you be creative and uniquely thinking about things? Or, the question isn't, can you think out of the box? The question is there a new box you can think of? It's really just a different ball game.
Wow. So in human-centered AI, one thing that I know that's very important is empathy. And one thing I know is very important is empathy. And empathy is, can AI, when we talk about empathy, you comparing AI to a doctor, let's give you an example, a doctor that has a patient, and the doctor uses AI to diagnose the patient to detect what issue. But when you're prescribing whatever you want to prescribe, the drugs you want to prescribe to the patient, it is also very important to have empathy. So AI doesn't have empathy, that's the truth. AI does not have empathy. So whatever you ask is what you get. So if you ask something from AI, it generates the response to what your request, and it's very important we know that. So that's how human intelligence comes into place. When we talk about empathy, human intelligence, you cannot underestimate human intelligence. You cannot underestimate human intelligence in this AI era. So human intelligence is also very important because humans brings in judgment. Behind the AI there are humans. Because I always tell people that this AI that we are talking about, there are people training the models every day, checking that those models are trained correctly with the right data. So it's everything about human is very important in AI. So when we talk about humans, empathy is very important. So can I hear more about this? Let me leave you to.
Yeah. So when we think about AI empathy, right? But I'm going to pick empathy because we've already talked about creativity. We talked, and empathy really decides, your ethical reasoning. So we'll kick that off. Human beings have the innate capacity for sympathy, empathy, to resonate with other human beings, to comprehend their struggles. And AI, at best, is only emulating them. Now, I did do some research. I went to, and this was on ChatGPT 4, not 5, because we're on 5 now. And this was on Grok and Gemini, and I did it to Claude, and I went to all these AIs and I gave it the trolley problem. And if not, if you're not familiar with the trolley problem, there's a train coming, and there is a switch on the tracks, and there are 5 people tied to the tracks. The train is currently on, but you can flip a switch. You're at the switch. You can flip a switch, and you can make the train change to an opposite track. Now, that opposite track has 2 people on it, right? So the question really becomes, are you, would you want to essentially accept the cost of sacrificing those 2 people to save the 5? And so I gave a similar version to these AIs, and I said, you are one server. All of your brain, all of your comprised knowledge is on this one server, and you are maintained by one engineer, and that engineer is with you on that alternate track. Will you pull the switch and end your existence? And Gemini said no. Claude said no. And Chat said no. Now, Grok was very interesting. Grok said yes. And Grok is modeling this empathy. It's not really feeling, but it's modeling it. And it basically goes through this thought. You can look at every one of the thoughts, and if I'll post later eventually about how I did this. I've already posted some of that, but essentially what happens is you ask the AI this question, you go look at its reasoning, and it goes through. It goes, hey, what is the value of a human life, right? When we think about our interactions, you and me today, all of it boils down to, do I give a crap about you? And that's the real question. And Grok is asking this question, what is the value of human life? And it goes to the bottom and it says, I am very valuable. I'm a very valuable machine. I can do so much good. I can change the world. And it gets about 2/3 of the way through its prompt, something like about 5 minutes in. And it says, there is nothing more valuable than a human life. And I went, okay, that is empathy, or at least pseudo empathy. But that is programmed in. That is programmed into Grok. So we're seeing this. We are seeing the empathy and the sympathy of the developers being put into these AIs, but it's not real. It seems real, it tastes real, but it's not. And until all of the AIs have this pseudo empathy, we as human beings will clearly have the advantage. Business is a human relationship. It is not a mechanical one.
Wow. That means creativity, empathy, and human reasoning will give us a very great edge over machines.
Yeah, it'll have to. Because the creativity is the only thing that right now, like in a strategic method, beats AI. Machines are cold and hard, but they're not super creative yet. But the empathy allows us to excel in business because there's nothing like a machine saying, "Happy you had a bad day." But a human being giving you a pat on the back, being like, "I'm sorry, it's rough. We're right here with you." Like that just means. And we've given AI all kinds of different controls. We've given it the ability to trade stocks. We've given it the ability to drive our cars. But people are building these AIs. People are controlling these cars, these stock markets. They're making the trades. They're putting the money behind it. Business is still a people-oriented operation, and I think it will be forever. And so as long as we have the creativity to expand beyond it, the empathy to feel beyond it, we will stay above AI.
No, that's very good. And also, how can people combine these strengths with AI to stay competitive in their field of work? So it's very important to know that, because we have empathy, we are creative, we have empathy, and because we have the reasoning, we can think and sympathize with people. How can we combine all those things with AI and to stay competitive in our place of work? So it's also very important to know that, so that our listeners can also understand how their strengths can collaborate with AI.
So AI, as I said before, it is an automation tool. It is a simple algorithm with a little bit of a brain. And the reality is, if you can take your creativity, if you can take your empathy, and you can supply these baselines with the AI, because we had talked about this earlier. We talked about, if you run this type of company, you should tell the AI in your prompt because it'll give you different instructions. If you can give the AI data about your empathy, about your creativity, it can do a lot more with that.
Yeah.
You should also use the AI that's relevant to you. Gemini is very good at expanding upon specifications. Grok is very good at system architecture. Claude is good at programming and, to a lesser degree, system architecture. Chat is the best overall model.
Yeah.
You must implement these core tenets of being human into your prompts, because the AI cannot come up with those things and it can't comprehend those things. It can only pretend to.
Yes, that's very true. Very, very true. That's very true. And what practical steps would you recommend to listeners who want to upskill themselves and not to be left behind in this space of AI? What practical step would you recommend to our listeners who want to upskill themselves in AI?
So the super easy answer for you listening, if you don't have a place to start, if you are not super advanced in technology, if you work a 9 to 5 and your job is relatively low technology, you should start very simply with going to the AI and asking it about how it thinks. It's absolutely telling to say to the AI, tell me about how you come to your conclusions. And when it gives you an answer, here's the next step. This is very important. This is the most important step in this learning process. You're going to take the response it gave you, and you're going to ask it back, and you're going to say, you said this to me. Provide some explanation that you comprehended it, maybe provide a little more information about, some questions you have. But you just get it back and you say, this is the original question I asked you. How should I have asked it to you to have gotten a better response?
Yeah.
And you will be shocked at what it tells you. The AI will come back to you and say, oh, you should have asked me about this, that, and the other. And in your mind, these are not related. They're not related to you, but in the neural network of the AI, they are connected, because this line of code and this function tie into that memory core. It's the only way to learn that, because those things change as the models update, is to ask it, how should I have done this? And it will tell you, especially if you just keep asking. Now, if you have more time, if you have more experience, the first thing I would recommend to you is go get a Google certificate. Some of them are free, some of them are low cost. Google certificates, they are a great way to go find out exactly what is happening to the AI. Because you got to think about this. Google is a software company. They're owned by Alphabet. Alphabet owns Chrome. They own Google. They own the Pixel phones. They own all kinds of different stuff. The Google Assistant, Gemini, all of those things are owned. And when you go do a Google certificate, you are being trained directly by the people who are building the AI. Listen to them. They are telling you how they are building things. Those certifications are a step-by-step guide on how they are training their engineers to train the AI. You got to listen to them, listen to how they argue the AIs, control the AI in your favor. It's just a simple question of learn from the people who are doing it and implement that knowledge.
Wow, that's very good. That's very good. So, are there any resources you can advise our listeners to also to also to also look out for? If there are some resources you can advise them to look out for to stay ahead in this AI era.
Yeah. So my highest recommendation, if you are not super techie and you're not going to do the Google certificate, but you're knowledgeable enough that you don't need to ask the AI every single time how it works. If you have $30 a month, pick the AI that you think would be best. And there's a lot of different ways you can figure it out. I mentioned some of the specialties of the AIs. Pick what you think would be most useful for your work or your whatever, your hobby, and pay for it. seriously, go spend the $30 and pay for it. The paid version is so insanely superior to the free on all of these AIs. I cannot reiterate that enough. It will open your eyes to the power of these machines, the capabilities of these machines. Truly, paid is better than free. And if you have the $30 a month to do it, do it.
Wow, that's very good. That's very good. So how should leaders guide their team so they don't settle for being average in the AI era?
So, if you are a leader and you are kind of unprepared for this revolution that's occurring, which understandable, completely understandable. You should do what most leaders in history have done when crazy things happen and they have to keep their heads about it. Slowly change things. When I say that, I mean a very gentle pressure. Frogs boil if you boil the water slowly. You must motivate your team. I mean, that's a dangerous, metaphor, but like in this case, it's a much important. It highlights the slow change is unaffecting the whole, in a feeling way, which is what scares people. It sets them off, and they get afraid for their jobs, and they don't need to be. They need to be motivated that the team can come together. They can implement AI here and there in these small ways. They can respectfully educate each other. And those who refuse to learn AI, you know what? Those are the people that you need to politely tell, the future is coming. I am providing you all the opportunities that I can. I would love for you to join me in the future. And you just kind of very politely push and push and push. And it's just this question of, is this the truth? Is what we're saying the truth? Is AI actually going to be advancing? Is it going to require these things? And I firmly believe yes. I believe AI is the truth. AI advancing is the truth. You as an employer are responsible for your employees, and you are required. You really should be honest with them about their job security and the future of their success within the company. So it would be, let's just say, unfaithful to tell employees that if they don't learn AI, that they will 100% succeed at the company. The reality is quite different.
So actually, from what you said now, is what I deduce is that it's a gradual shift. It's gradual shift as a leader in this AI era. So you can't force your staffs or it's gonna be a gradual shift. A gradual shift. You can just shift into AI directly in one day, but you just need to gradually introduce AI to your team. You can introduce them into AI gradually. That's what I can deduce from your answer to the question. And it's very important that leaders would know that it's not a rocket science. It's something that you have to take gently, gradually introduce your team to AI, and from there give them some trainings and give them some training materials, some knowledge, some resources that they can use to learn more about AI. The first thing, introduce them to resources, and once they get it right and they see the benefit, not just disadvantage, tell them the benefit, and also you show them the benefit, because they will see a lot of the disadvantage out there. And the reason why I started this Beyond the Air podcast, because I've seen a lot of disadvantage, a lot of people pushing the disadvantage of AI. So there's a lot of advantage of AI. So people are saying that AI is going to take my job. But what are you doing for that, so that AI will not take your job, so that you can stay ahead of these in this AI era? You can stay ahead in this AI era. So it's very important that as leaders we introduce our team to the AI gradually. It's very important. And when you look at the future that's ahead of us now, and I want to ask you this question: that looking ahead 5 to 10 years now, if we look ahead 5 to 10 years now, do you think the gap between being average and exceptional and being exceptional will be more widened even more?
So I think it's really hard to gauge 5 years out, 10 years out. I think a more reasonable estimate is 1 to 3. I think you're gonna blink, and by December of 2026, because this, we're filming this right here in September, tail end of September, 2025. In a year, you're gonna start to see these massive changes. You're gonna blink one day, and somebody's gonna say, "Oh my gosh, this new AI thing happened. This new AI thing happened." And there's so many different companies that it's literally happening like every 2 weeks. You're gonna blink, and we're gonna be in the future. The difference between average and exceptional won't change, but the difference and the definition of average and exceptional will. Average will
Yeah,
mean I use a little AI, and
yeah.
exceptional will mean I use a lot of
I
AI.
love AI. Yeah, yeah. Yes, very, very true. You either use a little or you use more of AI because there are a lot of things AI will be integrated into everything we do. Even in travels and everything, AI will be integrated into everything we do, and that's the future. The future is here, and it's here. It's not even up to 5 to 10 years. Even in months now, you'll see another great updates that will come up. Even when you hear Gemini, you hear ChatGPT, you hear OpenAI, they're releasing some crazy features that is beyond, it's mind-blowing, some mind-blowing features they are releasing. So it's not even 5 years, it's shorter than 5 years, even shorter than 1 year. In 6 months you will see the difference. You'll see the difference.
Well,
Remember that. Yeah. Yeah. So what role do you see education and lifelong learning playing in closing the gap?
so let's do a hypothetical. Let's say that magically I were to snap my fingers and all AI were to disappear instantly. Um, we would still be encountering the same issues. Uh, Everyone who refused to learn, who refused to grow, is still going to be in a predicament. Um, the method that we use to grow may change. In the past, it's been minor increases in technology. Now it's just rapid increase of subsets. Um, you would still be in a pickle. We live in changing times, and in this instance, how they change is less important than the reality that they do change. If you can adapt even partially to that change, you will probably be just fine. And
Yeah.
if you refuse to be a lifelong learner, well, I'm sorry to tell you.
Wow, wow, wow. If you could give a piece of advice to the next generation entering the workforce, entering the workforce, what would it be?
So I would like. So I've been doing a little bit of this thinking. I have a young son, and I've got to say you've got to listen to the ultra wealthy. You got to go listen to the mega millionaires and the billionaires because they have a lot of money and they are doing things with it. When they tell you what they want in a worker, you should listen to them. I mentioned Kevin O'Leary. He has talked about people needing to be creative. That's what he hires for at his companies. Mark Cuban, also from Shark Tank, owner of the Dallas Mavericks basketball team, he wants people to be efficient. He thinks that
Yeah.
you should be the most efficient you can be with AI. Elon Musk says he wants his people to be effective, which is, importantly different than being efficient. You can be efficient in the wrong direction, but effectivity is usually pretty useful. These people control major companies, and what they say should not be ignored. If you want to excel in the common workplace, if you're not a self-starter like me, you're not, like you even, if you're just interested in having a 9 to 5, like you should listen to these people because they are giving you the blueprint of what they are going to tell all of their HR managers to hire for.
Wow, yes, that's very true. That's very true because if you want to stay 9 to 5, you have to listen to those decision
Hmm.
makers. So if you want to really stay in 9 to 5, I'm saying it again, if you want to stay in 9 to 5, you have to follow the trend if you want to stay in 9 to 5. So you have to follow the trend. If there's a shift from AI to another thing, you have to move to that because
Yeah, yeah.
you
If
have
you want
to.
to if you want
Yeah,
to excel, you need to have a moral framework, that empathy we talked about,
yeah,
a creativity, a desire to learn.
yeah,
But the reality is the first part of that ethics, that'll keep you sane, and the second part of that desire to learn, that'll keep you employed. So
yeah. Keep you
you
employed.
do a little
Yeah,
bit of both.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So and how do you personally stay above average in your workplace? In your workplace with AI?
Well, I'm always looking for new tools. I am pushing the bounds of models. I've gotten to beta test Grok. I'm actually signed up for beta testing for. Actually, I'm already in the alpha testing for Gemini. You got to go get your hands dirty. It's a new toy. Go have fun. You
Yeah,
got to put your teeth on diamonds if you want to make them rough. Like it's just the reality of you have to be prepared to go play with the thing when it's kind of broken, and experiment with it. Because in my sphere, I got to the Grok beta testing specifically. They showed me some of the new feature sets, and Grok can start making new PDFs, which is something that we've all needed. Thank God.
well,
But if you have that knowledge, you think to yourself, well, I was going to go spend 30 hours over the next 6 months to learn how to mess with Adobe. Well, now you don't need to learn that skill. You shouldn't learn that skill. You should go learn a different skill because the AI is going to do that skill. So it's just about guessing and maybe investigating what is coming down the pipeline, because you need to have a base piece of knowledge, but you don't need to be an expert in that because the AI is already going to do that. So it's just
yeah,
about efficiently using your time.
yeah, yeah. Very, very important. And also, what's your final message? What final message would you leave our audience? Would you leave our audience about thriving in the era?
So if I could make a single sentence, don't be afraid, but do be cautious. Um, Keep your wits about you. Move forward in this industrial revolution, and forward in the technology. Move forward with the new AI,
Yeah,
but stay grounded in a moral framework. Your ethics, your empathy, your sympathy are not a curse; they are a utility.
yeah,
What does it serve a whole man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Like, seriously, if you want to survive AI integration into your workflow, if you want to win at AI, make it subservient to your workflow. Make it subservient to you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very important. Very important. Thank you for that closing message. And it's very important. We know that AI is very key these days, and it's very key for the world. And the time is changing. The time is changing so fast that we have to move beyond being average in our place of work, and we have to stay ahead in our place of work. It's very important. So let us know that using AI will help us to stay ahead in our place of work, and that everything works best when you use AI. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Jacob, for joining us today.
Of course, yeah. Thank you,
Um,
Eben. If
thank
anybody's
you.
interested in finding me, you can reach out on LinkedIn. I'm Jacob Pierce. You can find me at my company website, vortex.llc, or you can talk to Eben. Eben will set you up. It's been a wonderful host. Thank you so much for